Good evening, folks. Welcome to this week's episode of Beer Rating with Sean Connors. As you can see, the beer I have today is quite a colorful beer, at least from the can. And quite the name to suit it. The name of the beer is Colourful Language, and it's out of Two Crows Brewing Company out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. Or as we here on the island say, up away. And it is a strong beer at 5.6% alcohol. And they call it a foeder sour with marquette, pomace, and plums. And did a quick research because a couple things there I wasn't quite sure about. So foeder is basically a Dutch word for a large fermented tank which is used to brew beer. So we got that. So foeder sour with marquette, pomace. So my understanding with that is marquette is a type of grape, and the pomace would be what's left once the grapes are crushed, like the skin, the pulp more or less, and plums. And from what I understand, the grapes and the plums come from a local spot there in Nova Scotia. And it say bright, zippy, fruity. Two Crows Brewing Company. And it says marquette pomace, courtesy of the fine folks at Lightfoot and Wolfville Vineyards. And that's about all the information. So I know it's a sour, which I normally like sour. Crack it open and see what we get here. I give my glass a quick cold water rinse as per usual. Just a little glass rinser I use, and this is, they recommend giving your glass a quick cold water rinse rather than storing it in the freezer as some people may do. Crack it open. I do enjoy sours. Hey, this one's got a nice little red tinge to it. Honestly, I wasn't quite expecting that, but I guess I probably should have, considering they say bright. I can actually get the fruity smell from here. Offhand, honestly, to me that would smell, if I didn't know any better, I would think I was smelling a wine more than a beer. Especially from the look of it, other than the head itself. Definitely fruity. Definitely a sourness to the aroma. Big thing is, how does it taste? Definitely a sourness to it for sure. Wow. And what was else they said? They said fruity is something that zippy. Definitely got some zip to it. Definitely a fair bit of sourness to it. Honestly, a blind taste test, I wouldn't know for a fact that I was drinking a beer. Especially if I wasn't familiar with sours. But it is tangy. Definitely refreshing, but it's more, for me, it'd be more along the lines of glass of lemonade on a hot summer day, refreshing more than a cold beer. Refreshing all the same. To give it a rating, head dissipated rather quickly. A little bit of carbonization still in there, but not a lot. Honestly, it reminds me of something with every taste. I just can't put my finger on what. But it wouldn't be a beer that it reminds me of. Something else. To me, it got almost like a wine quality to it, but kind of like a really, really cheap. I'm 16 years old. I found a bottle of wine. It was the cheapest one I could find, type of thing. Like I said, it is definitely refreshing, but in a, I know this sounds odd, but in a different type of way that a cold beer would taste refreshing on a hot summer day. It's interesting, I'll give it that much. Of rating wise, I always give it out of 5, with a 1 being a drain pour, don't like it, can't finish it. A 2 would be, yeah, I'm not a fan, but I'll finish it. A 3 would be a good beer, a 4 would be a very good beer, and a 5 would be the best beer ever. I'm honestly a little bit perplexed. I don't know where to go with this one because I am enjoying it. But like I said, I'm not enjoying it in a having a beer type of enjoyment. It's more like, to me, it'd be like a fruity cooler, or like I said, a cheap wine. But even the cheap wine really doesn't do it for me. I don't know what it is. I'm starting to think maybe it reminds me of a Belgian sour. And there's a specific name for that, where they do the natural fermentation. And I know I did have some before that aged it in the foeders. Let me check my cue cards here just to see what they have for styles of beer. Alambic, that's what I'm thinking. To me, it actually reminds me of a little bit of alambic, which isn't a bad thing at all. Belgian beers, I find, are really unique. So if I remember correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, alambic is a Belgian sour that is fermented in an open vat, and quite often they don't add yeast as such. They get the natural yeast from the air. I know some breweries, it's they might open up the windows so the air can get in, and the air is carrying the yeast that they need, the bacteria, whatever the case might be. A lot of times it's specific to a certain region of Belgium. For some reason, I picture a region like within a valley where it's a little bit sheltered, so the yeast that they're interested is actually native to that particular area. So it gives a rather unique taste, and for me, this is what it's reminding me of. And quite honestly, I was questioning myself what I was going to do for a rating, and at first I was thinking maybe a 3, and then I'm thinking, do I even want to go that high? Because I said, initially it didn't remind me of a beer, but now that I'm thinking a little bit more about it, tasting a little bit more, definitely reminds me of alambic, a Belgian beer. And that being said, I'm actually drinking it quite easily, so I think it no less than a 3 if you like lambic beers. It's definitely unique. Actually, the more I drink it, the more I'm enjoying it. And with all honesty, there's not too many beers that I actually finished on the review. So that should tell you something right there. So I'm thinking, for a number wise, 3.5. So that's between good beer and a very good beer. Initially I was thinking maybe a 2.5, but empty glass speaks for itself. I think at the beginning I was actually thinking about it too hard rather than just enjoying it. And the more I tasted, the more I obviously enjoyed it. And then it brought me back from what I was originally thinking, like a cheap wine type of thing. And then another couple of tastes, I'm like, no, that's not quite it. To me, very much like a Belgian sour. And like I said, there's not too many beers I finished in the view itself. So I think 3.5. Strong 3.5 at that. I think that's reasonable. So here you go, folks, for the Two Crows Colourful Language, 3.5. If you can find them, check it out and let me know what you think. Until next brew, as always, enjoy responsibly. Cheers.